Yeah, I can't see it, but that's all right.
Well, I can't.
Can you see it?
Yeah, do you think I should move it in a bit?
Well, no, it's not that. I wouldn't move it because it's all right. But I mean, it's just the
Any better?
it's just so bright in behind.
Yeah.
Future so bright.
Actually, it's
we gotta
really-
wear shades.
It's really bright in the eyes or something.
Yeah, but it's the main door.
It's because it's standing right in the light. Is that okay, or did it do anything?
Well, it makes no, never mind to you or me. It just means that we can't see the screen very well.
I don't like that though. Hi, Shelly. Hi, everybody. Welcome to live coffee time with Kevin and Melissa. Today we're actually going to talk about the process of sustainable fat loss, but we'll give it a few minutes and see. There's 6 people watching us already.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Hey, Deanne.
That's 4 more than Sheldon's Fun with Flags.
Yeah. That's funny. You want to talk about anything?
Yeah, I may as well kick it off whenever you're ready.
Well, let's just give it a few minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, Tara.
This is actually Chevy's rant, is what this is. And it's just
Hey, Helen.
it's just my own personal thought process. It's not even that it's a rant or that anything sparked it. It's just
Hey, Amanda.
something that's, I don't know, that I just feel like I need to express.
Well, that, and you were talking about it on the walk this morning. If you're there, say hello. If you watch the replay, let us know. If, as we're going through this discussion or this kind of back and forth discussion between Kevin and I, you have questions or anything, comments, feel free to write them in the
Chat.
chat below, and I'll look through the comments at the end and address anything that has come up. I'll start it off again just because I'm getting close to the enrollment starting for the next program. I have a big wait list. The wait list people will be, anybody who's on the wait list, anybody that's watching or watches the replay who's on the wait list, you will be contacted on Thursday or Friday with early access to enrollment. You will have the first couple of days to enroll prior to it opening to anybody else. It then will open to the public or whatever within this group first on the Monday the 15th. I have almost 45 people on my wait list, and my I'm only taking 50 people max. And if everybody on the wait list joins, I will be basically full before it even opens for enrollment. So that's just an FYI. I don't just post the link, so if you are thinking about it, if you want more information, if you want to know if it's for you, or if you're a fit, or if you want to reach out to me and talk about your goals so that I can let you know if the program will actually work for those goals. If not, then I will recommend you somebody who can help you. Don't wait to reach out so we can have a conversation about it. And that's basically, I think, my 2 cents for that. It starts on September 19th. Orientation then will start on September the 12th. So I do a full orientation week, just kind of getting everybody ready for the program. And then the 6 weeks itself starts the week later on September 19th, and it'll run for the 6 weeks. September is always one of the busier programs. Hey, Gloria. Okay, you can start whenever you want. I'll let you start.
Also, too, with your September program, you always wait until kids are back into school so that
I usually don't.
Moms can get in their routines and things like that, so that
I usually don't kick it off right at the beginning of September, because I know that from past experience, 'cause I've been running these groups for quite some time, starting them too soon is too much of an overwhelm with trying to get back into routine with kids, with schedules, with people who have been in vacation mode a lot throughout the summer, even themselves getting themselves back to work and in a groove. So I usually start it a little bit later, September.
First weekend, is it, in September is
Labor Day weekend.
It's Labor Day weekend,
Yeah.
so you don't want to start it just before Labor Day weekend and that. So
No, I usually start it around the middle-ish.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is going to be a little bit of everything in this comment here. It's a bit of a shameless plug for Fit Girls Rock, all that. My biggest thought process over the last couple of days, and it's just some of the things that you've been talking about too, is that what do people really look for What's their mindset? What's their theories? What's their thought processes when you first approach a coach to get into shape, whether that's fat loss or
Hey, Ivy.
wanting to build muscle or those sorts of things. And in today's day and age of instant gratification, like you can literally go on your phone now with like Skip the Dishes and DoorDash and all that kind of stuff. You can order food and it shows up. There's no thought process behind it. You just order it, it's going to be there, and it's going to be there like that. You want to watch a movie, you don't have to get ready and go out and go to a theater and all that kind of stuff anymore. Boom, it's on Netflix. You just pop open your iPad, tablet, whatever, and away you go. And so in our modern society, we've learned that we can have things at the drop of the hat. And unfortunately, one of those things that we think that we can have at the drop of the hat is the ability to lose weight within 6 weeks, say, for example, because that's what your program is.
Can we stop for 1 second?
You can.
Instead of losing weight, you should say losing fat, because there's a difference between the two, and you can
Well,
drop
there
weight,
is,
and you can actually
but
drop weight extremely quickly. Okay, go ahead.
There is, but most people don't look at it and go, "Oh, well, I got a roll here. I want to lose in 6 weeks." They have a number in their head.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So
Okay, go ahead.
So that's where there's a method to this. That's where the word weight's coming in. I know where you're going with it, and you'll get there. So I know people have contacted you with your 6 week program. They go, "Oh, well, I got a wedding to go to in like 6 weeks or a month or whatever, for example," and they want to lose all this weight. And their thought process is they want to look good for that wedding, or they're going on a beach vacation and they want to look good in that bikini. So they're very narrow focused in what weight or fat loss really means to them in the moment, and what's the thought process then after they've gone to the wedding or after they've gone to the beach for those 2 weeks. And I think that's where the sustainability part comes in later on in the conversation. But I just want to spark the thought process with our viewers as to looking at this long term and stop thinking about fat loss or weight loss as something that you can achieve in a very, very short span. It's certainly achievable. There are many wonderful things that modern technology has afforded us. There's magic pills, there's shakes, there's surgeries. There's all kinds of things that you can do to change your body, change your shape, change how you look, but it doesn't change how you feel. So you can go and get the surgery done and look at yourself in the mirror and go, "Wow, I look amazing." But unless you have changed your thought process around food, around exercise, around diet, around being a positive person, how is that really going to change long term? Like, how can you keep that long term? So that's what I want everybody to think about. That's the thought process I'm trying to put in people's heads, is when you really want to start your weight loss journey, fat loss journey, whatever it is, fitness journey, however you want to look at it, please look at it in terms of what it means and how it affects your life on a daily, going forward for the rest of your life.
Can I talk now?
That's my rant.
Can I talk?
It's all yours.
Okay.
That's my big, now it's up to you to...
Okay. So Kevin makes some really good points, obviously. There's a difference between sustainable fat loss and weight loss. I will put it that way. So when you come at, the majority of the time when I talk to people initially about what they want to lose 10 pounds, they want to lose 20 pounds, they want to lose 50 pounds, they want to lose 100 pounds, whatever it is. And in their head, they also have a number of what they want to achieve. But their expectations as to how quickly that can be achieved doesn't actually match the actual process itself.
Right.
Because what we all need to consider when we're looking at sustainable fat loss is that it's up here that needs to change. It's not, it is, don't get me wrong, it involves a lot of nutritional change and a lot of movement change, but those two things are actually dictated, like how well you show up for those things, how consistent you are with those things, those things are dictated by what goes on up here, because there's things like self-sabotage, there's things like self-limiting beliefs, there's things like just general how you show up for yourself. Do you keep the promises for yourself? Do you prioritize other things and other people, etc.? And so a lot of the time what we will see is that, you know, you're coming into a process of looking for fat loss, but you're coming in looking for fat loss still with the temporary ingrained mindsets that have been ingrained since you started your first ever diet, which for a lot of women was early teens, let's just say. So you have these ingrained kind of beliefs that you can achieve weight loss of whatever, 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 pounds within weeks and or months. But not only that, you're not ever thinking about what happens after the fact. You're only thinking about, I need to get this weight off. If it requires a shake, if it requires me starving to death, if it requires me restricting everything, if it requires working out every single day, and it requires yada, 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 that's fine by me because I'm going to get here, but there's never any thought process of what goes beyond here, what happens after here.
Right.
And if you are looking, I mean, at the end of the day, if you are looking for just weight loss and you don't care what happens after, then that's fine. You can do these things. They will ultimately still affect your metabolism, your hormones, and all those things, but they still get you to your end goal quickly, and that's fine, but they will never be sustainable. And if we're looking at sustainable fat loss and the process of sustainable fat loss, the process of sustainable fat loss requires building habits and behaviors and taking your focus off of the scale and putting your focus on fat loss, not weight loss, and also putting your focus on how you want to feel, not just are the pounds melting off, am I dropping sizes, etc., etc.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you know, I can easily help my clients achieve fat loss very, very quickly. But that doesn't mean that I don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is because my values when it comes to helping clients are about health and wellness as a whole, physical and mental, mindset, all of that stuff, hormones, etc. Everything needs to be protected. And while I could put all of my clients on a 1,000 to 1,200 or 1,000 to 1,300 calorie diet and have them drop weight extremely fast, it wouldn't be sustainable either. And at the end of the day, the other one of my core values as a business and as an individual who's in this industry trying to promote health as an overall health and wellness, it's not just for me about getting my clients to a certain amount of weight or having them drop these inches, etc. It's also, how do I help these clients build habits and behaviors that they will have forever, so that at some point in time, with all the practices we've developed, with all of the practice in maintenance, with all of the habits, all of the behaviors, building up the mindsets together, they will never have to do another diet for as long as they live, unless their goals change for some reason or other.
Right. And I think the other thing to discuss here is that rapid weight loss, or just focus on fat loss, rapid fat loss or weight loss, is something that is also very detrimental to your health. You talk about hormones, and I think that's another thing that people don't understand, that if they focus on just one aspect of the body, they don't realize by fasting constantly, or just consuming 1,000 calories instead of that, and cutting out certain foods and only eating certain foods and doing monstrous amounts of cardio and things like that, that in of itself does more harm to your body than being a little bit overweight in the first place.
It definitely can. I mean, I'm a prime example of that from when I competed. Absolutely, it definitely can. But we can't use that either, though, as a blanket statement, because there are certain instances where certain things do work for certain individuals. Like taking food away when it's a trigger food is something that can work for certain people.
No, we had that discussion last week.
But the thing that I think, first of all, we have to address that sustainable fat loss is a long process. It's not a snap of your fingers and you're done.
Right.
Sustainable fat loss focuses on building a relationship with exercise, as Kevin mentioned, building a solid relationship with all food, understanding how to eat for your goals, and how to also maintain your fitness and your well-being, mental and physical, as you go through your process. Sustainable fat loss is not meant to be our Band-Aid that you rip off and then snap your fingers and you're done. It's about understanding through your process what maintenance actually looks like, so that when you're done fat loss and you're out of your fat loss phase, you actually know how to maintain. You don't have to go back and forth and yo-yo back and forth anymore. You know how to maintain, one, because you've developed the behaviors to help you in maintenance once you get there. Two, you've developed the habits required to keep maintenance once you get there. And three, you've developed the mindsets, the growth mindset, the understanding of yourself, the self-awareness, the self-mastery to be able to keep those results once you get there.
Right.
That said, I do want to point out that maintenance doesn't mean that you end, say, your fat loss phase at 145 pounds and you stay at 145 pounds forever. The scale never fluctuates, never goes up, yada, yada. That's not what maintenance is. Actually, when you go through a fat loss phase, and let's just say you do end your fat loss phase at 145 pounds, when you go into maintenance, your habits and behaviors, etc., maintenance is actually more calories than your fat loss phase. So therefore, your scale weight could fluctuate quite a bit, especially in the beginning, and it may even go up a few pounds before it actually settles down again because you're giving your body more food. That doesn't mean it's fat gain. That's what I mean by fat loss and weight loss are not the same thing. Weight loss is a number decreasing on the scale. It's influenced by, how much water you have in your body, how much salt you consume, if you're on your period, what your hormones are like, yada, yada, yada. So many things. Did you poop today, et cetera, et cetera. And fat loss is actual, change in your body composition, not just numbers dropping or sizes dropping. Body composition changes happen. Your muscle mass stays, or you increase your muscle mass even as you go through the process.
Right.
So I will say, and this is what I think Kevin's getting at, and this is one of the things, one of the very first videos, live videos that I present in my 6-week program, one of the first things I tell all my clients is, do not come into this program with the mindset of, I just have to do this for 6 weeks, and after 6 weeks I get to stop.
Yeah.
I immediately say you need to come into this process dropping temporary mindsets and coming at them with a permanent lifestyle change. Yeah. And we need to look at this from a sustainable process, and I actually challenge all my clients in the first week to keep the stuff that they love in their diet. Instead of trying to take everything out, because now I'm doing fat loss and I need to get rid of all these things in my cupboard and I need to not have chocolate, not have this, not have this, I challenge them to pick 2 to 3 things that they really love and challenge their mind to actually allow themselves to consume them through their process. And then that sets them up already, right from the get-go, with more of a permanent mindset and permanent lifestyle change, permanent fat loss process, sustainable process. I'm already setting the stage for what I'm about to teach in the coming 6 weeks. Temporary change is just that. Temporary. So if you go into any process and you automatically are saying to yourself, and I've done this numerous times, cleanses, detoxes, diets, yada yada, oh, I only have to do this for this many days or for this many weeks, and then I'm done, and then I can have a burger and fries, or I can have this, or I can have this. Right. And at the end of the day, then you're reverting right back to your old familiar patterns, and before long, give it a day or two, and all that stuff that you just did for 30 days is gone out the window. Right. Including the results. So if you come at it with more of a permanent, sustainable fat loss idea and process and mindset, then you understand and you're going to work through as you go. And everybody has these thoughts of, oh, it's not happening fast enough, or this is not coming quick enough, or I'm not making any progress. But we work through those things as we go, and we're building the habits and behaviors, mindsets, etc. as we go, so that it does get to end up being a permanent change.
Right, because you look at a couple of things. So the majority of the time, I'm just going by what's advertised on TV. So usually what's advertised on TV is a cookie cutter solution to a weight loss problem.
Right.
Right? and everybody figures that all they have to do is this cookie cutter solution, and their problem's going to go away. And that's just not right. And that's what you're talking about too. Well, it's not happening fast enough, or it's not happening like this, because it could. What I was talking about damage before is you've probably done so many different diets that your body doesn't know what you're trying to do.
Well,
So you know, you can look at it that way. So you go through your program. You go to a 6-week program, which is basically an educational program. It's not even about fat loss, weight loss specifically. It's an education on how to go through all that. And you were talking about maintenance earlier in your conversation here. I think you kind of need to qualify what maintenance is. Some of the misconception is maintenance is just you're maintaining the weight. Well,
that's what I just tried to specify
right?
there.
But
Yeah.
the thing of it is, you've got to maintain not only the weight, but you got to maintain all the habits that you learned that got you there. You got to maintain, you know, your mindset.
Yes, your behaviors. You have to work on it.
Exactly.
You have to
So
work
talk
on
a
it.
little bit about that.
You have to work on it all throughout your process. So, at the end of the day, so let's just say you're a client coming into my 6-week program. In the 6-week program, the first thing that I'll say is what I said: temporary versus permanent. You need to come at it with this style of mindset, knowing that I'm going to help you navigate that as we go through. You're going to come across these struggles, these bumps, these things that tell you you're not making progress or it's not coming fast enough, etc. And I'm going to help you navigate those things. That said, in the program as well, you'll get a calorie deficit, and you will be tracking your food through MyFitnessPal or whatever you choose to do. And I give the option, but generally speaking, I try and get my clients to track. But one of the things that I also say in the beginning is that tracking here is meant to be a means to an end. So while tracking is important, especially when you're in fat loss, because it gives you a very eye-opening, whoa, this is what I'm eating and I didn't think I was eating this much, or there's this many calories in that, or wow, there's so much protein in this and I didn't realize it, or there's not very much protein in this and I didn't, or fiber, etc., etc. So it's a very eye-opening process, and it's a very good process for keeping you accountable and making sure you understand if you're consistent or if you're not with your deficit, and you need a deficit for fat loss. But throughout the process, the goal isn't just to track. It isn't just to track whatever and not learn anything and not create any habits or behaviors. Tracking is a means to an end, and what I mean by that is you're tracking to get you to your fat loss goal, yes, but throughout the process of tracking, you're also doing the tracking, but working on the habits and behaviors that are required for maintenance once you get to your fat loss goal.
Right.
So, for instance, like you'll come into a 6-week program, you'll get a deficit. I'll teach you, we'll set you up with tracking. And then throughout the 6 weeks, you're going to get an education. So my 6-week is a course, which I think I've mentioned many times before. The 6-week is a course. So then through the course, you're getting, in addition to tracking, habits, behaviors, mindsets that you need to focus on and work through as we go through the process. And I'm helping you navigate all of this. And so as you're going through your tracking, now you're building on your habits and behaviors as well. The habits and behaviors that are required for maintenance, so that at some point in time when you reach your fat loss goal, or maybe even throughout your fat loss process, you will have practices in maintenance where you don't track, you're just aiming to maintain your habits and behaviors so that you don't backtrack and go back to your familiar comforting habits that you had before. And so that when you do reach your fat loss goals, you can let tracking go altogether, and you have then instilled in you the habits and behaviors that are required to just live your life diet-free. As a society, we don't have a fat loss or weight loss issue. We have a maintenance issue. We don't have a I don't know how to lose weight necessarily issue. Maybe we have an issue where we don't know how to lose weight or fat the proper way, because we tend to restrict calories so much, we tend to demonize certain foods, but we don't necessarily have a weight loss problem as a society, we have a maintenance problem as a society.
Right.
I haven't tracked for any of my food or anything like that, like in MyFitnessPal through my phase for probably about 8 years.
Yeah.
Since I competed, so however long that is.
Yeah, since 11. Oh, 12.
12.
Sorry,
I
since
competed
12.
in 2012.
So 10 years.
So yeah, oh wow, 10 years.
Yeah.
So I haven't tracked since then, but all my habits and behaviors and the lifestyle skills needed and the mindsets and all that's all been worked through for the last, say, 12 years since I've been started with in this lifestyle in general.
Right.
So that's how come I can do that and still maintain my physique or, you know, everything, because I've built on the habits, behaviors, and mindsets required to be able to maintain it. So again, as a society, we don't have a weight loss issue. We have a correct weight loss, how to do it correctly issue, but we don't have a weight loss issue in that we don't know how to lose weight or we can't lose weight. The issue is we don't know how to maintain it once we get there because we never think of it as a sustainable
Right. So
process.
when you look at tracking at first is, like you say, is numbers, because you need to figure out what foods you eat in a day, how many calories are in those foods, and then how to take those amount of foods and fit them into the calories that you're allowed to eat in a day.
That's correct.
So
in the beginning,
at some point, that tracking is no longer required because you now build a habit based around how much food you eat in a day that satisfies your hunger and fullness cues, that allows you to. You went like that and you kind of.
No, I just thought of something. Sorry,
Okay,
I just thought of something else.
But okay, so you can finish what I'm saying because you know what I've already started.
Well, because what I was going to say, because I want to clarify this too. In saying that, the 6-week program, you won't be able to stop tracking after the 6-week program. So generally speaking, tracking needs to happen could be years before you can actually let it go. But like I have clients who've been in my tribe for a while who don't track anymore. I have clients who have been achieved their fat loss results, been in my tribe for a while. Now they're no longer a client of mine and they've maintained their results after and they don't track anymore. But generally speaking, people who go through the 6-week program and only do the 6-week program don't get to a point where they can't track. But I've also had loads of clients who've done just 1 or 2 of my 6-week programs and gone off on their own and done extremely well as well. And eventually they may come back and I may teach them how to let go of tracking and still be okay with,
Right.
because that's also a mindset. When you let go or understand that you're in the process or in the place where you can let go of tracking, it's hard to let it go because now your mind is telling you, oh my God, I'm going to go backwards and yada yada. So then you may need somebody to guide you through that. You can go ahead again because I don't really know where I thought.
No, that basically carries on with it. It was basically trying to get the idea that eventually tracking becomes a habit is all I was trying to get at.
Yeah, well, at some point in time, like the more you track and the more you understand and begin to understand food, but the more you understand yourself, the more you build that self-awareness, and the more you work on your habits, behaviors, and mindsets as you go, the less you're over time going to need tracking. And if you're new to this right now, you probably can't even envision that being possible for you.
Yeah.
But at some time it will, because at some point in time, there becomes a point where, like right now, the old habits you've always had are what we would classify as familiar and comfortable. And therefore, your body and your mind gravitate back to that always. And they want to, because that's what it knows. That's what it's comfortable with. But at some point in time, you get to a point where the new habits and behaviors actually become more comforting and familiar than the old stuff. And that's when you know that...
You went old stuff for
yeah, there's a specific reason I went old stuff over here.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I completely lost it now. So that you can be comfortable then in your newness, and it becomes familiar and it becomes way easier. It takes time though, and this is I think what Kevin was trying to get at, and what we were trying to start with here is that sustainable fat loss is a long-term process. It takes a considerable amount of time. Like I'm talking years, not weeks or months. And
well, it all depends. It all depends on where people are in their journey.
Well,
so somebody that's been, tried 101 different things, then it could potentially take years because there's so much to unlearn.
There's so much to unlearn. There's so much to unpack. You have to start with all the mindsets of the difference between fat loss and weight loss, the difference between temporary and permanent, the difference between just a diet and a lifestyle. You have to unpack so much when you have so much history.
Right.
or the difference
Exactly.
between, you know, why people think there's a difference between good and bad food and not just food, and why, you know, you shouldn't use exercise for punishment, and, you know, all of that needs to be unpacked when there's a big history of dieting. But at the same time, if you, let's just say, have 50 to 100 pounds to lose, you should realistically give yourself at least 6 months to a year, if not longer, because at the end of the day, it depends on what comes up as you go through your process. How many curveballs does life throw at you? How do you react to stress? How do you react to other emotional stuff? Just, you know, in general, many things come up. And the other thing one of the most common mindsets that almost every single woman I work with needs to work through is the difference between consistency and perfection. So when we do what we classify as just a diet done for a temporary time, it has to be all or nothing. This is the diet, these are the rules, this is the dictation that you need to follow, and so you need to be perfect with this, and if you're not perfect with it, well, you fucked up and you need to start over again.
Right.
Whereas when you're when you come at it from a lifestyle perspective,
What did you put in the
yeah, exactly. When you come at it from a lifestyle perspective, it's not any longer about all or nothing, and it takes a long time to get rid of that mentality specifically. It's more about consistency. So you're trying to breed consistency and understand that you can still have vacations. Holidays can still come up. You can go on date nights. You can do fun things with your family. Consistency and perfection. Perfection is no date nights, no socializing, no whatever, because I can't have this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this. Whereas lifestyles are, well, it's date night, so I'm going to go out and enjoy date night. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to still enjoy myself, though, and maybe have a glass of wine or whatever. That's the difference. And then tomorrow when I get up, my routine will be the exact same as it was today, because it's a lifestyle now. And I need to learn how to incorporate all these things into the lifestyle, as opposed to saying, oh, well, I went on date night last night with my husband and now I fucked everything up, so I need to start over.
Right.
Or I need to go I need to punish myself for the next 3 days and then start over. Or may as well just screw the week now because I screwed it all up and I'll start again on Monday, or whatever.
Right.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, and it's not only the person going through it that suffers, the spouse also suffers, because I suffered through you going through the perfectionist mindset.
What do you mean?
You know exactly what I mean.
I do, yes.
When all you could eat was chicken and rice and water, like we seriously couldn't go on a date night. And I mean, if I went on a date night with you and I had a dessert, it was like, you know, you wouldn't even. I had to almost go to another booth to eat, because if you smelt it, you know, you were upset by it.
It's very true. It's actually a very sad. When I look back on it now, knowing what I know now, having gone through everything that I've gone through now, when I look back at some of the things that I did, even like prior to us being a couple, with like just to change my body, it's extremely sad. But when I looked at what I did, like, you know, in the days, like in the time span just before deciding that I wanted to compete, and then in the time span when I was getting ready to compete, it's extremely, I don't know what the word is. It's not sad. It's not the word I'm looking for, but I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it wasn't a very good time for you. I know for you 100%, because not only was I like say obsessive with everything, you know, I couldn't do this. You, not only could I not do it, really realistically, you couldn't do it, but it was also,
But the entertaining part about the whole thing is that this is what we thought was right and normal at the time.
well, I can remember when I actually decided to compete, and when I actually went through the whole process of competing, and after I stepped on stage and whatever, I remember getting off stage and thinking, oh, I'm just going to do this again. This is just going to be my life from now moving forward. Seriously. And I can remember another time, Kevin and I were on vacation. I remember this so vividly all the time, and I don't know why. But Kevin and I were on vacation in Mexico, and just before we had gone was when I had started doing intermittent fasting. So we had done intermittent fasting, and of course I go to Mexico, and I don't do intermittent fasting while I'm in Mexico. And I remember sitting down for breakfast with Kevin, and we're having our breakfast, and I remember saying, it's okay if I gain some weight, because when I go home, I know exactly what I have to do, and I know this magic formula. You know, intermittent fasting is all I need to do to get right back to where I was prior to going on vacation. Like, how, it's such a weird concept to me now, knowing what I know, and how free I am with food, and how I feel about myself and my body, and how much different I feel, and how balanced and such a healthy lifestyle and well-being and mindset that I have now. But realistically, that wasn't that long ago.
No, and again, it all depends on what your goals are. You know, with intermittent fasting and those sort of things. Because realistically, like if you're gonna compete, like say your viewers are potentially thinking about that, well then there's a methodology to having to do that. But where the extreme end of it was for you was coming back out of that.
Agreed. I just want to say one thing before we move on from this part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Competing, there is a methodology behind it, but I will say with 100% certainty that there's a healthy way to do it. It
Right.
doesn't have to be done in extremes, and there is also, if you have the right coach, the coach will tell you that maybe your body is not ready for this right now, and we need to build up your metabolism to get you there first, or something like that.
Right.
So I'm not at all saying that, you know, a competition's not for anybody, or that I didn't enjoy it or anything like that, or that it's not a good goal. I'm just saying that if you're going about it and you're going to do it, make sure that it's right. It's the right thing for you, and you have a good coach. I'm not the coach for you if you want to compete, because I am not. It's just not what I promote. I promote health and competition living, which is when I went into it, I thought that was sustainable fat loss.
Well, not only that, but healthy.
And healthy fat loss. And obviously, that's just not the case. You don't sustain what you achieve when you get ready to compete. Anyway, moving on. I was also going to next talk about, I lost it. I was going to bring up something else.
Yeah.
There must have been something in that coffee today.
Who's getting old now?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we should just review, and then it might come back to me.
Oh, I don't remember what we started.
So sustainable fat. I want to go over. The whole topic was meant to be the process of sustainable fat loss.
Right.
So the process of sustainable fat loss, first of all, involves movement, involves nutrition, but it mostly involves mindset and creating habits, behaviors, and new mindsets, so as to create not just, you know, fat loss for the short term, temporary, but fat loss for the long term, permanent, so that you can move into maintenance, eventually leave tracking altogether, and create a process that's actually sustainable long term.
Correct.
Where you build the habits, behaviors, and mindsets, and, you know, this is just how you live your life.
Right.
Where you're happy with yourself, you feel comfortable in your own skin, you feel confident, you feel more aware of yourself, you're very intentional and mindful, and you have, as I said, the habits and behaviors around movement and food and relationships with all of these things, healthy relationship with all of these things, but that also well-being in terms of mental and physical is included in the process as well, which is what I was going to say. Sustainable fat loss as well is sometimes requires a coach to say, you're not ready for fat loss right now. Or it may require a coach to say, you know what, where we have you for calories right now, because of where you're at with what's going on with you. I'm going to use as an example menopause, or a somewhat high stress environment, or postpartum, whereby you may have been at a lower calorie place, and now we need to increase you so that your body's hormones and everything can adjust, so that your mindset can adjust, so that we can relieve some of the stress. That doesn't mean that we're going to put you in a calorie surplus, or that we're going to even put you at maintenance calories, but we may need to increase you a little bit, because the end result for fat loss is not just aesthetics, not just to change your physique. It's also to change how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your body, how you feel about food, how you feel about exercise, and to make all of these things work in sync. Is that the right way to use it? To make all these words, these things work in sync to create a healthy, overall, happy, balanced lifestyle, mind, and body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just made me think of something
Yeah.
because you were talking about surplus calories.
I'm going to just plug in my phone so that we don't lose the...
Right.
Go ahead.
So one of the things when you talk about surplus calories is, or creating a surplus, is you might have to put somebody on a reverse diet. They might have been so calorie deficient over so many diets that before they can physically actually lose weight or lose fat, they might actually have to increase their calorie intake to jumpstart their metabolism again to be able to do so. So those are some things to think about too,
Well,
especially if you've yo-yo dieted and stuff like that. Then you get on a sustainable fat loss program, and you're finding that your progress is extremely slow, and that's what I was talking about before, where some of your dieting habits and techniques and whatever you want to call it can be damaging to your body, right? So that's one of the things that you were just talking about.
Yeah, I'll touch on that briefly, and only because maybe the reverse dieting topic is a topic we should do separately.
We would have to, yes.
Because it's a very in-depth explanation of what it is, why it needs to be done, and what the purpose of it is.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people look at reverse dieting as something that they're scared of, maybe because they don't understand it, or maybe because they feel like it means lack of progress for an extended period of time, and it does.
Right.
But if you are willing to do it and you have a coach who is telling you, look, this is what you need, you can be rest assured that that coach is 100% after your best interest, because they know that you aren't going to see significant fat loss results until your metabolism is improved.
Right.
So maybe reverse dieting, and you can let us know if you want us to do a more detailed conversation on just reverse dieting. But Kevin is correct. There is also a point in time where, or there may not, this doesn't happen for everybody, and the majority of the population doesn't need this. Oftentimes I have clients who tell me they think they need it, but when we dig into what they're doing and how many calories they're consuming, they definitely don't need it. They think that they don't eat very much, and maybe they don't eat very much, but they're still consuming a significant amount of calories. But there are instances, I've had to do a reverse diet. Post-competition, I had to do a reverse diet. And there are certain people who do need it based on, previous diets, how long you've been in such low calorie deficits, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Absolutely. And it needs to be done to improve your metabolism overall, is generally what it's done for. But also to improve your mindsets and your relationship with food and exercise and so on.
Because the only reason I pointed it out is because you mentioned earlier that typically the sustainability portion of this is that it can take a long time to do something. It can take a long time to see results. You might be at this a year before you're really happy with what you achieved. And I just wanted to identify some of the issues or some of the things that might contribute to that.
I'm just going to touch on this too really, really briefly, and then we'll go through the comments and address if there's any questions there. The other thing that I notice a lot, and I've noticed this a little bit more, seems like recently, say in the last 2 to 3 months, is that people seem to think that they should know what they need to do because, and I think it comes from the mentality of that what Kevin's talking about. I've done all these diets and all these diets worked, so to speak. But the problem, again, as I mentioned earlier, is not that we have an issue with weight loss. We have an issue with maintenance. And there's a difference between understanding what you need to do in terms of, say, I know I need to eat more vegetables and protein, and I know I need to drink more water, and knowing, first of all, the difference between how to do that consistently versus how to do it how you think you need to do it, which is perfect. It's also establishing all the mindsets, and it's also working through your relationships with all these things. Like as a coach, for me, it's not just about, well, here's your deficit and here's your programming, go off and yada yada. It's, what does your relationship with food look like? What does your relationship with exercise look like? How do you feel about yourself? How much movement do you do throughout the day? How can we break this down and make this simple for you so that you can actually show up and do the things you need to do consistently so that you can achieve results? And if you're not showing up for yourself consistently, what is the barrier or the wall that's taking place here that's not allowing you to show up for yourself? And then we dig into that as a mindset. Like, what are your self-limiting beliefs? Maybe it's a form of self-sabotage. Maybe you're so used to not showing up for yourself that you just don't know how, or whatever, or your goals are too big and now we need to make your goals smaller, and I need to help you understand why smaller goals are better than big, huge ones, or whatever it is. And people get down on themselves because they feel like, this process has taken so long, or it's taking so long, or I should know this already and I should just be able to do it, and I should just be able to show up, and why is this happening to me, and why? And oftentimes there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier about the cookie cutter diet, right?
Right.
People think that they should know just based on the fact that they can go on the internet and they can find information, and as we're all nutritionists and doctors and everything else, what we read on the internet is gospel. We figure, well, this is how I feel, this is what I'm going through, this is totally me, so I'm going to do this.
Yes.
Right. But the issue there is there's no follow up with it. Right?
No.
Because you're taking it upon yourself.
Right. So I guess there's a couple of comments there I want to read out loud. There's no actual questions. Mm-hmm. But the main takeaways from this chat are to start viewing whatever you do to achieve fat loss, because this is not just this is not about promoting me as your coach or Fit Girls Rock or my program, although if you want to do it, by all means reach out and we'll have a chat. It's more about whatever you choose to do, make sure you look at it from a sustainability standpoint. Can I see myself doing this forever? Am I being taught things? Am I being taught the habits, behaviors? The habits, behaviors, and mindsets, so that at some point I can live my life without being on a diet? Do I have to restrict all the things that I love? Because if I do, ask yourself logically how long you can actually see yourself doing something like that. When Christmas comes and all these cookies are around and all these things, absolutely you need to practice mindful intention, but you should not have to white knuckle through and not be able to have a cookie or a chocolate or whatever, or chips or a glass of wine, whatever it is, whatever your thing is. And also remember that sustainable means long term. Sustainable means forever. Sustainable means this is such almost an easy, simple process that I don't even feel like I'm on a diet, as for instance. Then you have all these things that are temporary, that 30 days and then you're done, or whatever it is. Make sure you're coming at it, looking at it from, I need to build habits and behaviors here that are different from the habits and behaviors that I have currently, because the habits and behaviors and changing in mindset is what's going to ensure that I keep this up long term, way past the 6 weeks or way past the 30 days or whatever it is, the 12 weeks, whatever it is. And stop coming at your fat loss with this expectation that it's going to be fast and that it should be fast and that it should be quick. Stop coming at your fat loss looking at only the scale as the be-all, end-all for progress, because your scale weight fluctuates every single day, every moment of every day, as long as you are living. If you are a living being and you are stepping on the scale in the morning and in the evening and in the afternoon and in the morning on this day, in the morning on the next day, in the morning on the next day, and you will notice that it fluctuates.
Right.
It could fluctuate a lot, and it could fluctuate very, very little. It depends on you and the person, and how many instances and many things that it's influenced by. So don't allow something like that to deter you, because fat loss and weight loss are not the same thing. And that's probably all we need to say, is it?
No, there's one thing you're missing.
Which is? Go ahead.
The C word.
There's too many C words. Calorie deficit?
No.
Which one? Consistency.
Yes.
And the the last thing I'll say, as Kevin just why don't you just say it?
Because you preach it on the daily.
Okay. The other thing is that consistency is a must for progress. So the other thing to remember is that sustainable fat loss requires consistency. If you are coming at something that is extreme, that is hardcore, that is restrictive, that is depriving, that doesn't focus on simple habits, behaviors, and mindsets as you go, there's going to be literally almost no way that you can be consistent with it long term.
Right.
Whereas if you come at it with a mindset of, okay, first of all, you need to understand what consistency versus perfection are. But once you understand what consistency is and what it actually looks like, and that it doesn't mean perfection, then you can, and you keep things, and this is the other reason why I teach things like this, you keep things extremely simple, it's very, very easy to stay consistent because things are simple. Once you keep things simple and basic, you can almost easily, or much easier, I won't say easily, but much easier stay consistent with them, instead of something that's hardcore and overwhelming and too much and complicated. Then it's extremely hard to stay consistent with something like that.
Yeah.
Long term, you may be able to be consistent with it for a few weeks or even 30 days or whatever,
Right.
but long term it's hard. So keep consistency in mind, sustainability in mind. Ask yourself the logical questions. Can I do this forever? Is this something I can see myself doing forever? Is it restricting things? Is it being too hardcore? Yada, yada. What's my life going to look like? If a curveball comes my way, do I understand how to navigate it and still show up for the things I have control over, or does everything have to go out the window? Those are red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I call the secret sauce.
Right. Yes, that is what you call the secret sauce.
Yes.
Consistency is always the secret sauce.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's, in my opinion, though, it's one of the hardest concepts to conquer.
It is. It's extremely hard to conquer because, again, it's up here. It's these ingrained beliefs that we have, perfection, yada, yada, all or nothing, yada, yada. And those things deter consistency. Also remember and keep in mind that consistency gets extremely boring. And then people are looking for the next thing because consistency is boring. Consistency is routine. And even though those things are exactly what you need, you tend to want to find something else. You feel like that's not enough. That can't possibly be enough. So then you're grasping at what the next best thing could be. And then before you know it, all your consistency has gone out the window because now you're looking for something else. And because you're looking for something else, the consistency you did have is gone.
Right.
I will leave you with this. Give yourself time. If you are in fat loss, if you are going through a fat loss journey, if you are wanting to build an actual sustainable lifestyle, you need to give yourself time. However long it's taking you 15, 10, 15, 20, 25, upwards maybe even to 40 years to be in a place that you are now with food and exercise, you need time. Expecting it to change overnight and be sustainable is the wrong mindset to have. You need to take your time. You need to give yourself time. You need to have realistic expectations about what is and isn't achievable fat loss wise, maintenance wise, sustainability wise, and just come at it with a longer term approach, and you'll have much more success that way. Okay, that's it for us for today, for this week. Okay, we will see you all again next week, and whether we do Q&A or a topic, I will let you guys know. I was going to read through. There's a couple things here I wanted to talk about. I wanted to just read. So, I think that there was a comment here somewhere. I think it was Melanie that wrote it. Yeah, okay. Melanie said, I wish there was more out there talking about this, about long term, enough with the quick fix advertised. Absolutely.
That was what started my thought process for the discussion today. Is there's just so much out there that says I can lose 30 pounds in 30 days, and go from, you know, this to Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
All right, ladies, thanks for joining us. If you watch the replay, let us know you watched the replay. And I hope you enjoyed the chat. If you have questions, comments, or concerns after you watch it, please feel free to comment below and I will address them later. We appreciate you all coming on, and we will see you again next week. Bye.